Welcome to our very first episode of Guide Bytes Information Technology series. I am Prasanna Vaidya. I am your host today. And this series is all about no nonsense conversations with IT leaders, insights you can actually use. Today, we are tackling a big one, emerging technologies and their impact on IT strategies. AI, cloud, cybersecurity, automation, tech is evolving like rapidly, daily, really fast. But here is the real challenge. How do IT leaders keep up, integrate new technologies with the legacy systems, at the same time stay secure and drive the business impact as well? So to break it down for us, we have got a perfect guest with me, Mr. Mandar Sahasrabudhe. He is a group CTO at Kirloskar Management Services. Mandar nearly has a 3 decades of experience in IT, spanning development, operations, infrastructure, security, and much more. He's not just a tech leader, but he's also a cybercrime consultant, helping businesses staying secure in an increasingly digital world. Welcome to the podcast, Mandar.
Thank you, Prasanna. Thanks a lot.
It's so nice to have you, and we'll straight away jump in. So, how should a IT leader adopt their strategies for emerging technologies? What's your take on it?
Okay, see, I think if you see technologies, come into the market daily. I always say technology follow a path, as in Hindu Dharma we say God, generate, operate, and destroy. No, we say technologies will always do God. They will follow God. What I mean is generate,
Mhm.
right, and disrupt, not destroy, obviously. Yeah. So every 4 months, 6 months down the line, you will find a technology. If you see right now, the boom is of AI.
Yeah.
But does it mean that I run behind each and every technology? Should I, do my strategy based on this emerging text? No. So I think there is a bit of a balance which, as a CTOs or a tech leader or IT leader, which I have to strike. Number one, obviously based on the business needs. I think that's most important. Am I really bringing in the tech just for the tech, or is it going to add value to the business? That's number one. Number two, are my stakeholders convinced about that it's going to really bring not only value but also increase my efficiency to deliver? That's number two. Number three, what's the cost optimization I'm bringing in? Because when I'm replacing the tech, obviously, it should not be uh, burdening me on the budgets. I would rather prefer a tech which is cost less, not cost heavy, but which is value high. So that's the third point. That's how I should position. And obviously, the fourth and the fifth very important point is, how do I ensure that this tech complies with the various compliances I have? Now, depending if I'm in BFSI, I have the RBI regulations. If I am on food and health, then I have the food and health regulations,
Yeah.
so forth and so on. So compliances. And I think the sixth and very important thing is we should not ignore the security. Now, whether it is the data security, data privacy, all these factors I think would help me to really strategize my tech, which I am going to adopt to enable my business. I think these are the consideration I will say, because generally, I have seen what happens is people just go behind the tech saying ye naya hai, adopt karna chahe. But unless you have really weighed it up, you will not get a go ahead or nod from stakeholders. So I think when I'm preparing a use case, when I'm preparing the business case and the ROI, this should be based on these factors which I just explained. That's how I will strategize.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, and every new tech is like gets older or state of the art becomes like a it's a stale thing like in 6 months these days. So yeah,
I told you, right? It's God, Brahma,
yeah,
Vishnu, Mahesh. Generate, operate, instead of destroy, it's disrupt.
yeah,
And something new comes. So I always take this analogy.
makes sense. Makes totally sense. One thing that every big enterprises sort of struggles with is there are some legacy systems that they cannot replace, or basically they are running so smooth that nothing can be done about it. So, how do you see enterprises integrating new technologies with legacy systems? How do you see that interplay going on?
I think that's a very conscious call. That's what I would say. See, it's not only about the parameters which I mentioned. Obviously, they are important because they will then decide whether I should move from the legacy to the new tech or whether I should integrate legacy with the new tech, right? Both the calls will depend on these parameters of enablement to business, value add, scope optimization, etc. But it might happen that you still want to bring the new tech, but you also want to continue legacy, right? Now, how do both of them work hand in hand? And that's where I think your technical innovation comes into the picture. For example, let's talk about 5G as a very emerging new tech. So the way 5G works on something called as radio signals, correct? And obviously it is probably different than the typical 3G, 4G, 2G we have been reading about. Now, which means imagine I have a legacy system or a legacy CNC machine in the plant which has a HMI module and which has a modem which probably is only capable of handling 4G signals. But at the same time, my management wants that to run plant efficiently, my OT, operational network, operational tech should be on 5G.
Yeah.
Right? IT and OT. So I get 5G, and by getting the 5G, I've saved a lot of cost because my passive cabling goes out, my switches go out. But at the same time, then comes a question that how do my legacy machines run on 5G? So I think that is where the innovation comes. And for example, the innovation which we have done and we are doing is we thought of a out of the box saying that why can't we use something called as personal hotspot? Right? We use it on our mobiles. Yeah. And then we did approach a startup who made a kind of a device for us called a CPE, which ensured that it works as a hotspot, which means it will take a 5G signal, but it will emit a Wi-Fi signal based on Wi-Fi 6, which my machines or HMI models would understand. See, now I'm not saying that's a perfect solution or that's a solution, but at least for me, when I have made this 5G investment, I need to give the ROI or business value to business. This is the right solution now, which ensures cost optimization. Now, obviously, going ahead, I am definitely going out to phase out the legacy systems because there is an end of warranty, there is an end of life for it. But till then, such innovations help.
Makes sense.
And then probably I change the modem of machines to 5G and everything is good. But I mean, the whole point I was trying to say is this is a conscious call based on this all cost benefit analysis and the parameters I mentioned, which as a tech leader you have to take, and how can I integrate the new tech with the legacy system? And I gave this example to explain it, more simple. So I think I hope I have answered it.
Of course. And the example was spot on. I mean, because if you have a machine which doesn't accept 5G as a signal, then you have to have something that emits 5G bandwidth as a Wi-Fi to them.
Why machine? Take an example of tabs. Legacy tabs would not have 5G. We do, right? So
makes sense.
So that's how I think you have to find a win-win and a balance, and innovation, I would say, is the only solution there. Thinking innovatively, right? Okay.
And with all this new AI and cloud and all this coming along, how do you also ensure or balance security aspects of your data privacy, cybersecurity, and so on?
Good question. See, generally, nothing against the cybersecurity guys like me. Of course, me also. Sometimes, we try to overkill it, saying that इसको तो Z+ security चाहिए. You know what I mean? That's a term we use normally with politics. So every time, because for every cybersecurity leader, cybersecurity is the only thing. Correct? At the same time, do I really look at balancing, saying that how do I balance it? As you rightly asked, how do I balance it with the need that I should definitely have security to ensure compliance? A. B. I should have a security which will allow me the risk mitigation of the attacks which would happen, probably, and which would also allow me to do kind of a monitoring. Apart from that, am I really doing an overkill of it? So, for example, as a risk mitigation, we go and take an insurance.
Right.
So, cyber insurance is one part of it. If I'm taking a cyber insurance against a minimalistic controls I have, then I think I have mitigated the risk.
Yeah.
So don't always try to overkill. That's how you have to balance. So you have to really think about whether this solution really needs that kind of security, or is it a minimal security with this risk mitigation strategies that I can ensure the compliance and go ahead.
Sure.
I think that's the way. If I would say.
Sure. And I think you're sort of leading us, the conversation is leading us to what I was going to ask you, because at the end of the day, why we want to bring in new techs is to drive the business growth or
Exactly.
optimization or cost reduction and so on. So how do you ensure that the tech investments are actually driving the business growth?
See, I always say, to whenever you bring a tech into the organization, the first point should be to think about what is the KPI I am going to achieve. Simple as that. I'm going to, let's say, deploy a digital twin or a 5G. What is the KPI I am driving? Is it really tied to the business KPI and not the tech KPI?
Mm-hmm.
IT and tech KPI will always be there.
Yeah.
What's the business KPI? What is the ROI which will be, I will be passing on to the business? Also, return on investment. How do I justify it? That's the starting point. That's most important. And I think to ensure that my tech investments will really drive the business growth, my business should first define these are the KPIs. They should say this is the problem statement, and then as an IT leader, I should work out the solution which ties up with that.
Yeah.
Many times it happens that people come to you with the solution. Now there is a very thin line, right? Everybody has become a digital champion.
Yeah.
And that's the need of the hour. I don't blame anybody. But at the same time, his bread and butter is business. He just has the ideas.
Of course.
Right? When we go to a doctor by reading Google, we just are aware of it. But we still go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Maybe to validate that our knowledge is right or wrong, or to validate and ensure that what he is telling us would benefit us. Same way I say, they come to you with the solution. But as an IT leader, it is your duty to ensure that you are going to enable and drive the business growth and not adopt the solution just for the case of it. A very quick, again, example, if you would allow me for this.
Of course.
So there was a problem statement which came to us and which we were driving, and we said, what is the business KPI for it? Okay. Now, the whole problem statement was, how do I enhance the customer experience by using the IoT in my products? Simple statement. And how do I increase the, let's say, for example, I increase the revenue of spare parts. But by adopting a solution of IoT. Simple. Now, if you see, the solution for that was, my products in the market are IoT based. I can do a proactive monitoring. But the real KPI which I just talked about will come when, imagine a business case that after doing a proactive monitoring, my maintenance guy knows that a certain product which I have sold into market, उसका part fail होने वाला है 3 महीने में. 15 अप्रैल को fail होगा boss. 90% chance fail होगा.
Right.
Now, so 14th April, my guy should be at the plant at, let's say, Rajasthan, standing there at the front of customer saying, sir, I will ensure your production line doesn't stop. फेल होगा तो प्लांट में मैं पार्ट लेके खड़ा हूँ.
राइट.
इसके पहले ही मैंने सिस्टम से, बिकॉज आई न्यू दिस, मैंने इन एडवांस प्रोफार्मा इनवॉइस आपको भेजा है. यू हैव ऑलरेडी गिवन मी इन एडवांस. नथिंग हैपेंस, आई विल क्रेडिट इट बैक. ट्रांजैक्शन क्लोज्ड.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to enhance the customer experience. That's a real business KPI. But how? By adopting this tech.
Wow.
Correct?
Makes sense.
And that tech is that, how do I really ensure the IoT proactive monitoring? How do I integrate it with my ERP system? That's a ROI, isn't it? I mean, that will definitely increase my spare parts revenue, because I know country में इतने सारे मेरे मशीन से कहाँ क्या fail होने वाला है. What is the probability of they failing?
Yeah.
It also helps as a KPI or rather a product roadmap input to my team, saying that your product needs to be improved because For example, 90-degree temperature पे fail होता है boss.
Right. Right.
So I'm talking about this business KPIs. No,
Yeah.
I think this is how a CTO can ensure that tech investment drives the business growth. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is kind of our last question. How do you think the CTO role is reshaping, given the rise of these techs? Everyone wants to do AI. Nobody knows what to do exactly, and so on and so forth. So there is sort of a pressure these days on CTOs that bring in new tech, let's do something, and so on. So how do you see that reshaping the role?
See, I think if I call, it is CTO's role, I always say it's moving from bit to bot. Sorry, ulta, from bot to bit. Okay, so bot, everybody knows what was bot. I say bit is business plus IT, in short. So CTOs are now becoming more and more integral part of the business. So role is reshaping in the form that you should also understand business domain and you obviously know tech domain. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
That's how it's reshaping. So I always say that whenever opportunity comes, I would never focus on tech. I would always focus on understanding the domain and the business need.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that helps me to find out the real talent I need in the team who would then evaluate the tech for the business. So it's really reshaping in finding out the right talent I need, finding out the right tech I need, depending on my learning from the business.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's more of a, we have heard of a term HRBP, right? HR business partner. Nobody says it's IT business partner. Have you heard ITBP?
No.
Why not? I mean, that's how we are now. Actually, we are moving from HRBP to ITBP. Same
Right.
way.
Right.
So that's why I always say, we are moving from bot to bit, business to society.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
And,
Wow.
and of course, adding to it a facet of a CTO not only knowing a tech, but also knowing commercial part of it. I think you should be well versed on understanding the P&L budgets, at least the ABC of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how the role is shaping, if I can summarize it.
Sure. 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 Wow. That was a good one, because one thing that the IT sort of tech people don't get is that there are tons of solutions out there, but you have to see what real problem does it solve in a way, right? So before we wrap up sort of this edition, Mandar, what one piece of advice you would give to IT professionals that are sort of either want to become next CTOs or are in the process of becoming next CTOs and so on?
I think not only IT professionals, but I'll give a very important tip first to the listeners. This is going to be a data era. है ना? I always say data देता है. Data देता है. क्या देता है? It gives you a power of conviction, power of experimentation, power of decisions, power of insight. Okay?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
डेटा को सोच समझ के दो. It's my tip.
Okay. Okay.
Because data is going to be the new soil, not oil. It's
Yeah.
going to cultivate business.
Yeah.
डेटा के ऊपर तुमको कल डेटा क्यूरेटेड डेटा बैंक्स वाले सेल वाले करने वाले बिजनेस मिलेंगे. तो दैट्स अ टिप फॉर द ऑडियंस. सो डेटा देता है, डेटा को सोच समझ के दो.
Makes sense.
For the, as you said, for the tip for the, let's say whoever you want, right? The next CTOs, as I said, focus on making your role more of a business and IT leader, understanding the commercials, understanding the business domains, and then adopting the technologies which gives you ROI. So focus on that. Come out from your tech domain now. You also are ITVP. Simple.
Yeah. Mandar, thank you so much. This was a fantastic conversation that we had today. I mean, and your use of data hai sort of things made me wonder what we are actually getting from data, right? I mean,
I should get a royalty for this. Huh? This is my calling.
Of course. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, breaking it down so clearly for all of our audiences. And to our listeners, this is just a beginning of our IT series. We'll be continuing to bring you insights from top IT experts to help you stay ahead. If you find this episode valuable, make sure to subscribe to Guide Bytes, share it with your network, and stay tuned for more. Until next time, have a nice one, keep innovating, and stay ahead. Thank you so much.